Hello, a very good morning to you all. Welcome to today's Totally Beads Live. I'm going to be making some little necklaces with you today, which has got like a scalloped kind of effect, really. Very pretty. You can wear them whatever you like. If you'd like them really tight to be like a collar, you can adjust very easily what you're adding on the back. I'm using two colours of pearls. You can have them longer like this if you want to. So it's this section here that we're making. I'm showing you the design. You can do whatever you want with the leftover beads to do the stringing at the back. Various different techniques in terms of materials that you can use as well. I'm going to be using some nylon thread just to create these little clusters, and then I'm just going to be using I think it's a Eslon D, like a kind of cotton thread just to run through here. You could use silk if you wanted to. So two colours of your glass pearls, which are 6mm in size. And you're going to get a lovely toggle clasp. You're going to get tiger tail, so you can string this bit. I'm going to get you some culottes and some lovely little findings, and everything's going to be in your kit that you need to make, apart from your needle and thread, which you can just add into your basket. So I'll show you that on the website. I'll take you very quickly down on the mat so you can see how they look here, so you can see what it is that we're doing. There's going to be two colourways on the gold and two on a silver. So I will show you the website in just a second. I'll just say good morning to everybody, and then we'll get going and get making. Good morning to Rachel. She's in a bright and breezy Barrow. The weather doesn't know what it wants to do here. It seemed quite a little bit cooler this morning, but it is getting brighter, so hopefully a nice lovely day. Good morning to Heather, how are you doing? And Jan is in saying good morning to everybody, and she's in a bright Sudbury, so the sun is definitely coming out across the UK. Let me know where you're watching from, what have you been making, and anything else you want to tell me as well. Good morning to Carol, good morning to Margaret. She says good morning to everybody from Woking in Surrey, and hello to Elaine as well. So I'm going to take you over to the website now. We are, of course, totallybeads.co.uk. This is where you can get your kits today, so you can make along with me. Head into the video tutorial section. Various different ways to get into that on the website. You can go through the jewellery making section, drop down menu at the top, or you can click on either the tutorial on the main page with our faces on or with our makes on, and this will take you into the section where it'll show you these are the things I've been making quite recently. These are today's makes and today's kits. They're called Honor Pearl Necklace, a bit like Honor Blackman. So these are your colourways. We've got a black and silver dust, which is going to be on your silver findings. We've got an ecru and ivory on your gold, an Indian pink and mink, which is what I'm going to demo for you today. And we also have a steel and powder blue. Steel and powder blue being on the silver, and the Indian pink and mink, I quite like that because it rhymes, is on the gold. Each of your kits have been discounted today. They're just £5.39, and that's going to make one necklace. You are going to use 2 strands almost. You're going to have plenty left over, but we're going to need more than a strand just for this section here, which is the lighter colour, and then you're going to get 1 strand of the darker colour as well that you can add in, and of course you can add into the back of your necklace. You could make a chain on this section if you wanted to. You could do stitch beading, any type you wanted along the back. So I'm just going to be showing you how to make these lovely scalloped edges today. So I'll show you the kits in a little bit more detail so you can see what it is that you're getting in there. So for the Honor glass pearl necklace in black and silver dust, again, it's been discounted today. If you want to add a needle and thread in, you can select this option there, and that will add that into your basket. But you might have a particular thread you like to use, and you can do whatever you've got at home if you prefer. So I'm going to use the glass pearl round beads in 2 colours. They're 6mm in size. You have them here. I'm using the silver dust and the black. I'm going to be using some nylon invisible thread just to use with the darker coloured pearls, which are going to be these little clusters in the centre here that I'm hovering over, so you won't see the thread with that, and that is 0.25mm. I'm going to be using a thread, which it's going to be quite long. It's going to be about for the nylon thread, it's just going to be about 30 centimeters per cluster. You're not going to need that much. I just like to work with that little bit extra. You're going to need quite a long length of whatever else you've chosen. You could use the nylon thread to thread through this section as well. I've decided to do it in like an S-line, just because I wanted to contrast the two, so I'm not going to be getting any tangles, because you know what I'm like when I'm using my needle and thread. You're going to get some tiger tail wire as well, and this is going to be for the back section. If you would like to use that, you can. We've got a lovely toggle clasp for you. We've got some culottes, crimp beads and jump rings, and I think that's pretty much all you're going to need. In terms of tools, a scissors or cutters, a needle, maybe a ruler, maybe 2 pairs of pliers as well to open and close your jump rings, to attach your clasp, and to attach your scalloped edge front centerpiece onto whatever chain you're making at the back. And that is about it. So that is your lovely honor necklace in the silver and silver dust and black. We also have the ecru in ivory, which works exactly the same, still just £5.39. I think this would make quite a nice bridal or prom necklace. We've got lots of proms fast approaching for our school leavers. I know my niece is in the middle of all of her GCSEs, and I've been working on a necklace and a pair of earrings for her. I think this would be quite a pretty make. Also look really nice if you want to pop it on with a jumper or as a t-shirt, whatever you like. This one here is the one I'm going to demo for you. Oh no, I'm not. I'm going to demo the other one. This is the Indian pink and the mink. I'm going to demo for you today the ecru and the ivory. I'm going to demo this one. Let's go for kind of wedding-y vibes. And then of course we've got the steel and powder blue as well. Everything you need in your kit. 2 colours of your glass pearls, which are 6mm and they are round. We've got the nylon, we've got the tiger tail, you've got your clasp, your culottes, your crimp beads and your jump rings. That lovely toggle clasp we've got as well. And this one here is your steel blue and your powder blue. So I've decided to make the little clusters in the darker colour just to pick them out. If you wanted to, you could do them in the same colour and just have it all in one if you wanted. But I'm going to make sure that you've got plenty to work with and plenty left over to add on your little necklace, or you know, whatever you like to wear at the back of your neck. So they're the honour necklaces for you today. 4 lovely colourways, 2 in the gold, 2 in the silver, and they are just £5.39. So let's head back into the comments. See, I've got quite a few of you in now, so thank you so much for joining me today. I will say a quick good morning to anybody that I may have missed. I said hello to Margaret, hello to Elaine, hello to Mina, good morning to Joanne. Kathy's in as well. Hello to you, Kathy with an I. I hope you are well. We've got Vicky in as well, who's all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina in the USA. Thank you so much for joining me. Anastasia's wishing everybody peace and love from Atlanta. So thank you for joining me as well. Monica's in as well. And we've got Rachel saying thanks to Anastasia. She always wishes us peace and love, which is very, very nice. So back down on the mat, let's get making. So you can see here, this is the one that I'm going to demo for you today. Just going to be making that lovely scalloped edge. Very, very pretty coloured pearls. We've got a blue version as well. So of course, if you want to change the length of this in terms of how it fits, all you need to do is just adjust the length that runs around the back of your neckline. And I've not put a particular pattern in for that. I've changed it up each time. So occasionally I might be just popping one colour in, which is on these little cluster sections here. I might be doing a full-on mix. Let's get these looking a little bit nicer for you here. So this is your Indian pink and mink. And then also we have, take this one from my bust. They make a lovely sound. This one is your black and your silver dust as well. Good morning, Julie. I hope you're well as well. I'm good, thank you very much. So to start, I'm just going to make these little clusters separately, and that's what I'm going to be using with my my tiger tail wire, not my tiger tail, sorry, my nylon wire. So I'm using the nylon wire, which is an invisible thread. I'm going to take about 30 centimeters of this, which is about 12 inches. That is going to be absolutely more than enough. You don't need it all, but I just want to make sure I've got a little bit more to keep hold of. I have just cut it and already I've lost it, because that's the joy of a nylon. It is invisible, so it can disappear. You can't see that on my mat, but I will talk you through it. So I'm going to just take my length, which is about 30 centimeters, which is about 12 inches. Just move that ruler out the way. And the other thread I'm using is just going to be this S-Lon here, but you can use whatever you want. Now I'm going to make 4 of these clusters for the main body of my necklace. If I just bring this in. So these are the little ones I'm working on here. So I'm going to take my pearls, which are going to be in the darker colour, so you're going to have 1 strand of that in your kit. And I'm just going to use 3 for each cluster. So I'm going to take 3 of my pearls and I'm just going to add on 2 onto the nylon. So I'm going to go and add those 2 pearls on, and I'm going to bring it down towards the bottom, but leave myself a little bit of a tail. And then I'm just going to take the end and I'm going to run that through just the bottom pearl. So it's coming out like so. And then as I pull that together, one is going to sit below the other, like that. I'm then going to take another pearl, because I just need the 3. Close this one over. Anastasia says the Indian pink is gorgeous. Hi Julie, hi Izzy, how are you doing? She says they're very pretty. Made 3 Inez bracelets with varying degrees of success, but we'll keep procrastinating. Keep going with it, you'll get there. Okay, so I've just added the 2 on and I've brought it back through the bottom. I'm going to add 1 more pearl on. And then I'm going to bring that through the second pearl here. So bringing that thread through. And then I've got 3 pearls that are just sitting on top of each other. But of course, I'm going to want to close that and tighten it. So with a little knot, so I'm going to bring that thread back through 1. So I'm just going to bring it through the bottom one. And then I'm going to tie a little knot. So just an overhand knot. Tie it twice, so I've got a double knot in that. And as long as your knot isn't blocking your drill hole in your pearl, you're good to go. Make sure it's a nice tight knot. I like to firm it up. You don't have to, you can cut it off at this point, but just to make it extra firm, I'm going to take the thread. Of course, you can add a needle onto this as well. But I'm just going to take that through the middle pearl so it comes out the other side. I've done this so many times, never had an issue, and now it doesn't want to go through. There it is, so just coming through that other pearl of the other side. And then I'm taking the other thread back through. So that's going to go through the top one. So now my threads are coming out the other side here. And I can tie another double knot just to make it extra secure. If you want to, you can do a surgeon's knot. It is invisible, so you're not going to see it, as long as it's not blocking any of those drill holes. And then with my cutters, I'm just going to trim off close to the knot. Just Get rid of that other little end. So I'm just holding it out of the way and giving it a little trim. So I've got these three little pearls which are just going to form those little clusters, and I want to make 4 of those in total. So just repeat that till you've got your 4 little clusters. Okay, now I'm going to just pop them to the side. I've finished with this colour of my pearls for now. I'll use them later in the main body of my necklace, which will be this section that runs along the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 jump rings. Now what you can do is you can use a closed ring. A closed ring is very, very useful because your thread is not going to come through. So if you are using a closed ring, what you would have to do is either attach another jump ring or attach a thread instead of a culotte onto this to make the body of your necklace. But I quite like the fact I can make this detachable. So if I wanted to, I could add this to a chain or whatever I wanted to do with it. So I am going to use a jump ring. So what you have to make sure you're doing is you have to make sure your jump rings are properly closed. So I'm just going to take 2 pieces of plier, and I'm just going to make sure that I have fully closed the jump ring so they are lining up. Hi John, how are you doing? Now I'm going to take my thread. So what I'm going to do in terms of the length of my thread, thanks John, that's very kind of you. I'm going to do 2 arm lengths. So I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to go fingertip here to fingertip there. So I've got big arms out, and I'm going to do that again. So I want a very long piece of thread. You can always just work in another thread if you want to, but I like to work with plenty on this. So I've got 2 arm lengths of thread, and I'm essentially doubling that over. So I am going to go back down on the mat. I've just popped my needle through, and then right at the end, I'm going to tie a little knot. So these 2 pieces of thread are now knotted together. There you go. I'm going to take that jump ring that I've just closed very well, and I'm going to take it through where the knot is and pull down. I will go through and work through this jump ring to firm it up as I go through my pearls. What I'm going to do here is just as I pull that loop tight, I'm going to make sure the opening of the jump ring isn't near there, so it's on the other side. And that's just going to make sure if it does slightly open, that thread's not going to fall through. So I've now attached my needle onto my thread, and I'm going to work with the lighter colour of the pearls. So I'm going to take 5 of my other colour, and I'm just going to thread them all on. So we're going to start with 5 pearls, and I'm going to bring that up. We'll see how long it takes me to get into a knot, yeah? Because I am working with quite a long length. And I'm just going to bring them up towards the jump ring here. I'm then going to take my first cluster that I've made in the different colour, and I'm just going to go through that like so. I'm then going to add 6 more pearls. So this is going to make my top row. So if I bring this in here again, you can see. So this is my 5, and then my cluster, and then I'm adding 6 onto this section. Just going to tap my screen. Sorry to wobble it, just want to make sure that camera Doesn't switch off halfway through. Good morning, Sheila. How are you doing? So there's my 6. And then I'm going to go through my next cluster. So bringing another one in. Just going through the top. I'm going to go through this side just because I think the drill hole is moving a bit easier through there. And I want to run back through this bit possibly at the end. And then another 6 pearls. Morning, Anna. How are you doing? Just moving a little bit of that coating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Through my next cluster. Another 6. It gets easier as obviously you're using up your thread. So 6 pearls again. And then my last cluster. And then 5 to finish. So this is my top row. And I'm going to take my other jump ring, making sure it's fully closed. And I'm just going to go through the jump ring, or my closed ring if I want. And then I'm just going to run that back through these 2 pearls here. Just make sure that's nice and taut so there's no major gaps. So 5 pearls back through the jump ring and coming back through the 2. Now I'm going to add 4 pearls into this little section. Making sure I've got quite a nice tension on that there's no gaps. And I'm going to go through the cluster again, but this time I'm going to go through the middle pearl on the cluster. And back out through the other side. being mindful not to get myself in a tangle because I'm using a double thread essentially, so just want to pull them both. And then I've got my first start of the scallop. Now for this little section where I was putting 6 in on the top row, I'm going to add in 8, and that 8 here is just going to make it a little bit larger. That's going to give me that little droop. So I'm going to take 8 of my pearls, still working in that same colour. Let's just check I've got 8 on there. And then through the next differently coloured pearl on the cluster in the middle. Just going to lay it flat, pull that thread through just to make sure everything is nicely positioned. And then again, another 8 for this section. I just take some pearls off my strand. Jan says my granddaughter's just woken up and is absolutely fascinated by what you're doing with those beads. Hello, my lovely. You'll be going through nanny stuff before you know it, or grandma, I don't know what you get called, Joanne. She'll be playing with all your bits and bobs before you know it. Asking you, can you make this for me? Can you make that for me? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Pulling that down and back through the next cluster. I'm going to go through 8 again. So picking up 8 of these. Just want to make sure I'm adding them on in the same amount so I've got the same size kind of droop. And then back through that last cluster here. And then just give it a little glance over to make sure all my thread is looking pretty. Joanne says, I can't wait for her to join in. Just got to wait until she stops putting everything in her mouth. And Heather says her dad watches with her. Hello to Heather's dad. Okay, so I've added on my middle section, which is my 8 pearls. And then I'm going to go back to this amount here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 was what I added. So we want the same on each side. And then I came through 2 on this section, so I'm going to go back up through those last 2 pearls and through the jump ring. And then back down. So I've just caught that jump ring. So you can see each time I go through up to the top, I'm just gonna strengthen through the jump ring by coming through. This time, once I've gone through the jump ring, I want to go back through 3 pearls. So I've got 1, 2, and the third one here. There you go. And then once I've come through 3 pearls, I'm going to add on 4 again. And that's going to start to form my last row. Back through the cluster, but this time through the last bead. And then for this bottom scalloped edge, I'm going to add 10 beads into each of these sections. So I'm just going to open up another strand because I've already worked through 1 of this colour. You can, of course, change your additional, you could change the order of your beads if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. Alison's saying you can do a knot under the jump ring for extra strength. Yeah, you absolutely can. I'll work my thread back through the top anyway and work it off, and you can do some little half hitch knots or whatever you fancy, and that will strengthen it up. So 10 beads onto the next. So that should be 10. And then back through this bottom pearl here on my cluster. So you can see I've now got that lovely draped section. Another 10 to add. and then back through the last pearl here. Just pulling both ends of that thread just to make sure nothing's catching. Oh, that's good. Jan says, I did the Ines herringbone bracelets, enjoyed the make, and they turned out really well. They did. They absolutely did. I love seeing the makes that you share, and it's just lovely to see everyone's take on something, but also just what a gorgeous job to do. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10. So obviously the Ines bracelets that people are speaking about are a herringbone wire bracelet that I did that last week. So it's, today I'm doing a threading project, I suppose, a bit like, I suppose it's stitch beading. It's nice to keep the variety and try new techniques. This is a nice, easy make. I am, I'd say, quite accomplished in my wire work, not so much things like seed beading and stitch jewellery. So, do give it a go. You'll find this, if you are new to this type of work, in a nice, easy make. And if you are somebody who's very accompanied at stitch beading, this will be easy peasy for you. So I've added on my 10 here. I need to add 1, 2, 3, 4 again for this last section. And I went through 3 pearls on the opposite side, so I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to just move this down, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go back up through that one, and that one, and that one. Going to come out next to my jump ring, through the jump ring, and then I can just work my thread off. So I'm going to go back through most of this top row, really. If you want to add your additional knots in, you can do. So I'm just going to take it through some of those at the top. I'm going to do a little half hitch knot every now and again. So that's just to create a little loop and catch the thread running through between the pearls. Trying to make it nice and wide so you can see what I'm doing. Wants to come through that one here. Hopefully I won't get into a tangle at this point, but if I just create that little loop there, I've tied a little knot in between those two, and then I can just continue to work through, stopping whenever I want to make another little half hitch knot. But I've got plenty of thread left over that I'm going to take it through the clusters and through that full top row, and that will tighten up the tension on the first row. I'm going to do another little half hitch knot there. Working back through my pearls on the top row. There's a nice drill hole in the beads, so you shouldn't have any problem working through those clusters a few times, even with your double thread and through the nylon as well. So as you work off, you can work all the way back through. You can go back through the jump ring, and that will strengthen it further. If you wanted to, you can run down the sides. You can do whatever you want to do with that. And when you're happy, all you need to do is just cut off any excess that you've got. So we'll do another half hitch here, making that really nice and secure. I think for time's sake, I'm just going to trim off here. And then we'll start working on the main frame of the necklace. So when you're happy and you've ran through where you want, I'm just going to cut off that extra. And I have that lovely little scalloped edge of my necklace, like so. Yes, Rachel, she says sometimes it's good to do something outside of your comfort zone, so keep stitching. I'm getting there. I am getting there. Joanne says I keep forgetting to take pictures, but I'm definitely enjoying the maker. Thank you. Thank you. If you're enjoying the making, that's the main thing. And Jan, you're a little sweetheart. She says you're a good teacher. I think it's because I feel I'm learning as I do. You know, I've never done this before, and I think give it a go. If it works, I'll deliver it. If it doesn't, we just pop it back into the change that makes section in my house. It's quite a big box, to be honest. So there you go. That's your lovely scalloped edge. Now all we need to do is start making the main frame and body of this section that runs around the back of your neck. So you're going to have loads of pearls left over. I mean, this was the second strand that I started to use, and I've made extras of these. This was already used, but you know, for this colour, let's show you what I'm talking about, you're only going to be using 4 of the little clusters and 3 pearls in each one. So you've got plenty left over to create your own design. You're also going to be getting some tiger tail in your kit. So I'd say 30 centimetres is probably more than enough. So I'll use 15 centimetres on each side. So again, if you wanted to do that in inches, it would be about 6 inches on each side. You can do whatever you want. You can make them longer or smaller. I do actually prefer this section to be a little bit smaller and to wear this like a collar. But of course it depends on the neckline of whatever you're wearing and what you're going for. I knew that was going to spring off. Oh, thanks, Jan. She says it looks amazing. So if I bring myself up, hello? There we go. Let me tuck that in. You can see I've just made that little scalloped edge. So you can have this sit wherever you wanted. You could have it as a choker, which I think would look extremely dramatic and very, very beautiful. This is kind of, well, it's like a very vintage kind of 20s, 30s look, I think, if you're going for that. You could, of course, wear it so it just sits like a little scallop around your neckline, depending on the top you're wearing, or you can have it where it's dangling longer. So All you need to do now is just decide how you'd like it to sit. You could always add an extension clasp onto the back of these as well if you wanted to, and then you can adjust it depending on what you're wearing at the day. You're very, very welcome. So I've got a little bit of time left, so I'm going to have a little play. In your kit, you're going to have your crimp beads, your culottes, and your lovely toggle clasp. So I'm going to get my culottes out of my kit. Of course, if you want to do a stitched beading around the back, I think if you could do like a peyote kind of stitch chain or anything you wanted to, but you could just stitch directly onto these. Because I've kept my open jump rings and my openings over here away from that knot, I can just add on my clot and I can change if I wanted. So you could make multiple sizes of your necklace section at the back, and then you can adjust that way too if you want to. So I'm going to take my crimp beads, I'm going to double crimp. So that means I want 2 crimp beads on each end of my tiger tail. Of course, I've got 2 sides, so I'm going to be doing the same on each length. I just want to make sure that these are the same length, and I will make them the same length by adding the same amount of pearls on. So I'm going to add on my culotte and my crimp beads. I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers or my crimping pliers, just slide that last one up towards the end, and then the next one up next to it, and I'm just going to flatten them out or crimp my crimp beads, and then I can hide them inside of the culotte that I'm just going to close over. Just add a little bit of pressure onto that culotte there, just so it joins. Hi Yolanda, how are you doing? Yeah, you can watch the replay. I'm nearly done. Just going to play around with the back of the necklace with the leftover beads that I've got from my scalloped kind of lacy looking front. So I'm just going to do 2 sections at the same time really. So I'm going to take my crimp beads onto the next piece of tiger tail and flatten them out. That's just going to pinch down onto the tiger tail and allow my culotte to fit over them together. They'll fit inside that little centre and it'll hold my culotte in place. So with your leftover beads, have a little think how you would like that to look. You could, if you wanted, just do all of the same colour. You could add in the contrasting colour. I think that might be quite nice. Just whatever you do on one side, do it on the other, unless you want like an asymmetrical look. So I'm going to add 4 of the ecru coloured. I think these are ecru. I do love the colour of these beads. They're kind of like a very soft, dusky kind of pink colour. They're sophisticated. They're not quite pink and they're not quite brown. They fall somewhere in between. So I'm going to add 4 pearls on, and then I'm going to add one of those beautiful ivory coloured beads. I'm then going to go back to 4 of those. So what I'm putting onto one, I'm just making them at the same time really. I mean, it's not hard to just follow the pattern, but if I'm making it up as I go, can add another ivory on. Ooh, Izzy, I like that idea. She said, I think it would be a good look on a memory wire as a choker too, maybe. Yeah, that'd be lovely. I've got some memory wire makes coming up. I've got a nice one, something a little bit different, which I'm quite pleased with. I think they've worked out beautifully, to be honest. And that's coming up at the end of this month, scheduling changes not occurring. And I haven't done a memory wire necklace. Don't know if I've ever done a memory wire necklace with you, but I think that's something I'm going to be adding to my list. So here I'm just doing 4 of one, 1 of the other, 4 of one, 1 of the other, and I'm alternating that like a little pattern. And you can add as many pearls on as you wish to get the length that you're after. Might just leave it like this. So just threading them onto the tiger tail. I think I'll finish with that lovely ivory coloured one. And then I'm just going to need another 2 colours. So in this colourway, you're going to get the gold findings, the black and silver dust, and the blue coloured version, which is the, I think it's iceberg and blue steel, I think the shades are. They're going to be in the silver colourways. And again, I want another 2 crimp beads onto each end. All of this will be in your kits today for the phenomenal price on the Honour necklace of just £5.39. The only thing you will need to add, and you can do so on the website quite easily as well if you need to, will be your needle and thread if you haven't got one at home. So crimp bead on, flatten that down, and add the next crimp bead on. Let that drop right down on top of the last one. So they're lovely and close together. Trim off any excess tiger tail. Close over the collar. Lining up with your fingers. We figured it was going to free. To do something completely different. Are we here? I think I'm back to normal speed. Yeah, pretty much. There's a slight lag. Okay, so I've just put my crimp beads onto that one. So the sound's gone, it was just the picture that went all weird. It was really weird. My hands were doing something completely different, and then I looked at the screen and they were doing something else. Right, so closing that one over. And then obviously you can decide how you want them. Do I want it with the white pearl closest to the bottom? Do I want it with the lovely kind of ecru colours at the bottom? whatever you fancy. So I already have my jump ring on, so I'm going to very carefully open up my jump ring by giving it a little turn towards me and adding on that section of the necklace, and then I'm going to move it away from me and make sure it is absolutely perfectly closed. Adjust if need be. Doesn't want to focus, but take my word for it, it's closed. Just because we don't want that thread to slip out. And then the same on the other side, that jump ring's already on. My scalloped edge. I'm going to slide through the culotte and then make sure it's beautifully closed again. And all I need to do then is add on my additional jump rings. Am I okay now? Is it all right now, Margaret? So another 2 jump rings, and then in your kit, in your Honor Pearl necklace kit, you'll also get a gorgeous toggle clasp. So I'm just going to open up a jump ring, pop the toggle or T-bar onto one side, and close, and the O or the ogle onto, so the ring onto the other side, attaching that with the jump ring and closing up the jump ring. And there you have your gorgeous Honor necklace. A really straightforward, I would say, make. Will take you probably maybe, well, it takes me about an hour to make one, but you might be a lot quicker than I. This one is ecru in ivory, which I've demoed for you today, just £5.39. We've got the beautiful, let's get them off the bust and show you. We have the very lovely Indian pink and mink, which are kind of like your pinky purpley colours. We have the steel and powder blue. I think I said it was iceberg, but it's not, it's powder blue. Here, again, you can play around with the pattern in which you want to add those beads. And then lastly, but by no means least, we've got this lovely kind of monochrome look, which is your black and your very lovely silver dust. Each of your necklaces today, each kit rather, comes with enough to make one necklace in this design for just £5.39. If you want to make it, then all you need to do is head over to the Totally Beads website, have a little look under our video tutorials, click on Honor, which is spelled H or HONOR, and add it into your basket, and then happy making. You can watch back this tutorial whenever you like. It's going to be there forever. On the wonderful world of the internet. You can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Facebook, you can find them on the website. So if you are looking at the website, it will have the video there at the top. You can just click on, and that's about it. Sheila says it's beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Heather also says this would look good with a magnetic clasp. You can absolutely change your clasp. I usually use a lobster, but I thought this deserved a little bit of a toggle today. Izzy says, beautiful. Thank you, Natalie. Might need a bank loan to keep buying all these kits. Well, don't get yourself in any trouble. Make what you can. Enjoy what you can, and even if you just want to watch back and get a little bit of inspiration from time to time, you absolutely can. Or even if you're not spending, Izzy, just come and play with us, just come and watch. We love having your company. Alison says it's lovely. Thank you, Natalie. Absolutely love the times I can catch a live tutorial. I love it too, Alison. I love it when you're here. Heather says she likes the blue. Rachel says thank you. Very regal. It is a bit, isn't it? She says in a really Scouse accent, it is a bit, isn't it? Joanne says, thank you, Natalie. Beautiful colours and a beautiful necklace. Thank you so, so much. My screen's gone a little bit higgledy-piggledy. Natalie says, Margaret, can you remember back to when you made a pearl necklace with pearls you crossed over? Don't know, Margaret. I use a lot of glass pearls. I love them because they come in so many sizes and they come in so many colours. I'm not too sure, but you can always find our past tutorials. So if you know, Margaret, if it was a necklace, you can click into necklaces on the website. So you can say search by kind and you can click on necklaces and it should have pretty much all of the necklaces that we've ever made on Alive. I say pretty much, I'm sure there'll be some that I'm missing. Or you can search by bead, so you could type in glass pearl and you could see all the glass pearl makes as well. I'm not too sure what it is. If you have any more ideas what it might be, drop me a message or drop me a comment on this and I will do my best to help you find it. So thank you all for being with me today. I hope you have a lovely, lovely week. I'm going to be back with you next Monday because it's Wednesday already, isn't it? I don't know what I'm making. I think I'm just guessing. A bracelet or a necklace, I think. Watch, it'll be a pair of earrings now. Thank you for being with me today. I hope you all have a very wonderful weekend and I will see you next week here at 10 a.m. UK time if you can join me then. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye.